When you're in an interview, it can feel like you are being bombarded with questions. But remember, you should be asking questions too. Not only does this show that you care about the company and the position, but you actually get to ask questions you genuinely want to know the answers to. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to craft killer interview questions using ChatGPT. So let's go ahead and hop on over to the computer. Okay, so I have my computer open. Now, I want to let you know I created 3 separate prompts. The first prompt is focusing at the company level. The second is the specific job opening that you're applying to. And the third is for the culture fit. Now, in ChatGPT, I do want to let you know I am using the free version. And this is important because you do have to copy and paste in the information rather than just copy the link to the website. In the paid version, you can just copy the link to the website, but because this is beginner friendly, I'm going with the free version. Here is the first prompt. And like I said, this is focusing on questions at the company level. Now I have it saying act as a seasoned recruiter, and then I have at a company name if applicable. I put this in here because if you are applying for a small company that doesn't have a big presence, it's okay to not add the company name, but the position that we are using for this example is at University of Texas, Austin, and that is a pretty big employer, so I'm going to go ahead and add that. Now we're going to have it review the mission statement and the job description. If there is recent news, go ahead and add that as well, so that is in here. And then I'm asking it to come up with 5 questions. I think 5 is a good number because you can pick and choose from that, but if you would like even more, then just change that number to what you would like it to be. I'm also asking the tone to be professional but friendly because sometimes we want to ask questions, but we're just not sure how to do that. And so this is going to make sure that it maintains those interview standards. So let's go ahead and copy and paste in the job description first. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and do the mission and values. And then of course, you know, I always like to ask it to ask me clarifying questions or you before processing their request. So let's see what it comes back with. All right, it has come back with 5 potential interview questions that focus on the company. And I set it up so not only does it give you the question, but it also gives you what the question is getting at. And this is important too because you want to make sure that you are hitting all of the points. Now, with these questions, definitely pick the ones that you are most comfortable with, the ones that you truly want to know, and you don't have to use all 5. 1 or 2 is fine because you're also going to be adding in those other questions and questions that just naturally come up as you are proceeding with your interview. Now we're going to move on to prompt 2. And prompt 2 is focusing specifically on the job description. And now in here, I put job description pain points because the purpose of every job is to solve a pain point. This can be as simple as, hey, I need somebody to answer the phones because the phones are ringing too much. But this, when you frame it like this, you are getting to the problem that they are trying to solve by hiring for this specific position. And then that way you can figure out how you can frame yourself as the solution to their problems. Okay, so we have the prompt in here. Once again, I am going to put UT Austin. Like I said, use your discretion on that. And instead of acting as a recruiter, we're going to ask it to act as a hiring manager. And the reason I'm doing this is because a recruiter might have broad knowledge, but a hiring manager is going to have specific knowledge about that job description. And so when we frame it like this, it might give us it. And so when we frame it like this, the output will be more geared towards those insider type of questions. So once again, I'm going to feed it the job description, ask it for the top 3 pain points, suggest once again 5 questions, but you can always do more. And then I'm also attaching my resume because it can look at my resume and kind of seek out how I can best solve those pain points. And then I'm also going to ask it to give me 2 professional but outside of the box type of questions. And these come up sometimes, so just getting your brain thinking about those left field type of questions definitely will give you a leg up. So let's go ahead and copy the job description and copy the resume. And ask me any clarifying questions, of course. And as this is processing, if you are looking for a video that will help you level up your resume using ChatGPT, I have a link in the description below. All right, so now we have the top 3 pain points that this job is trying to solve, which is great because now you have that specific information and know that you should be tailoring your answers to the questions that they're asking to focus on these. And going down, we now have the 5 questions along with what it is getting at. And then we also have some bonus questions, which is great. Now we're going to move on to prompt 3, where we are asking it to create questions that focus on culture. You know, those questions you want to ask, but you're just not quite sure how to. So we are going to create, once again, 5 of those questions. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put UT Austin as the company. And I do have in here that you can include Glassdoor reviews. This is not necessary. And in fact, there might be some companies that don't even have Glassdoor reviews, but for a bigger employer, they probably will. And if you'd like to include those, go ahead and do so. For this example, I will include them, but like I said, this is optional. Once again, we're going to ask for 5 questions. Change that if you would like. And then you're also going to put in what your specific priorities are. For this one, I'm just going to put I am wanting to make sure it's a fit for management style, work-life balance, as well as growth opportunities. So let's go ahead and we're going to put in the job description once again. And then we're going to go to Glassdoor and copy the reviews. Now, with an employer this big, you do have to narrow it down a bit. So if you notice, I've instead of just generic UT jobs, I did put human resources. So it narrows that down. Go ahead. Okay, so now we have 5 potential interview questions that we can ask them about culture fit. And if you're like, hey, this isn't quite hitting the mark with what I value, go ahead and change what you specifically are looking for in a position and it can tailor it a bit more. There you go. Questions that are specifically tailored to your specific situation that you can ask in an interview. And now if you are wondering about things that you should look for in an interview, make sure to check out my video here.